Nice beginning these meetings in the daylight.
It is.
It's a lot easier to not step in a gross puddle.
It has that too. Or hit a deer.
For a lot of them.
Oh, they are very happy today.
Yeah,
It is
Coming
now.
home the other night, on Shaker Boulevard, there was a herd of 14. They're moving so quickly. There may have been more, but that's size I could count.
Yeah.
A herd.
It is now 6 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting of the Enfield Select Board to order. In attendance from my left,
Kate Plumley Stewart.
Tracy Young.
John Klug.
Eric Russell, and Alice Kennedy is traveling this week. First order of business is the organization of the board for the next year. This is a new year for the board, so new assignments for all.
I'll nominate John Klug to be chair.
Second.
That's Jonathan. Accept that.
I'm not sure, I'll be honest. I'm very happy. I've done it 5 times before. I like working with people in the audience there. I have trouble negotiating the screen. So someone else is gonna have to deal with the screen and say, John, we have somebody, maybe even giving them a name, who wants to come in.
We got
Because
you.
otherwise I won't pay attention.
That's easy to do.
Yeah, we can certainly support provide that.
We can easily do that.
We got
Alice actually volunteered, but she sits way up
Yeah,
there.
no, and the rest of us have it in
I
clear
could
view and we can easily,
Yeah.
We're all kind of looking at it.
yeah,
All right, okay,
happy to do that part.
then I'm happy to accept.
Great.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? All right. I will immediately pass it over to you, John.
Bingo.
wasting no time there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We have, some changes in positions we need to make, perhaps?
Can we do a vice chair?
Yeah, we should do a vice
Can I
chair.
nominate Tracy Young to be vice chair?
I will second.
Sure. Happy to do it whenever you're not here.
Okay,
Whenever you're not here, happy to do
It's
it.
not a very competitive crowd.
You know,
all those in favor of Tracy as vice
Well, look
chair,
at me, I'm like,
say aye.
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 thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so looking at boards that need to be filled. Budget committee, I would love to continue with the budget committee if they're willing to have me.
And I enjoy being your alternate.
Yeah. It is really good to have 2 people.
It's the only way I can learn the budget, so I need to be there.
Yeah. Capital Improvement Program Committee,
I'm happy to do it. I would like to talk Dan into more than I think he's gonna give us, but I'm gonna keep him as a resource in the background.
I don't know about Alice, if she wants to continue with Heritage.
She wrote us a note.
He wrote that
Oh,
you
you
did.
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she said she's happy to stay with Heritage Viva.
And I've heard from Eric that he would like to stick with planning.
Yeah, I would be happy to continue. doing
And I'm happy to be an alternate unless somebody else wants to be an alternate on planning.
Got it.
Okay. Then we have a number of committees that don't require a board member. We want to take a look at this and see what changes we need to make.
I enjoy being a member of the Energy Committee
Mhm.
and would like to continue that.
Does someone else want to take over conservation? I've done it for a couple of years. I don't want to deny anybody.
Is anyone leaping forward?
I'll do it if.
It's
no
all
one's
yours.
leaping
It's all
forward.
yours.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And kudos for your patience.
So we got projects.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'm happy to stick with Tim.
okay.
And I enjoy capital improvement.
We had, so will we still have a community nursing committee?
We'll talk about that as we move forward, but as of right now, yes.
Okay. Alice Kennedy, Emily Curtis.
See, if you're not here to defend yourself, you get
You
assigned.
do get assigned other duties as assigned.
And would you say Kevin is the person to stick with the Recreation Commission
Or whoever's.
Kevin won't be here.
The new rec director.
or the new rec director?
Do we as a group, are we comfortable as a group imposing that on you, Ed, to be the staff? I know you've been attending so many of those rec commission meetings.
Attended one.
Oh, that's all, yeah?
Yeah, I would rather not if
Yeah.
possible.
That's,
Do we need a liaison to rec?
well, no, I think, I mean, as written, right, I mean, Ed manages the staff, and he's suggesting that the rec director would do it. I think that's an appropriate
Yeah,
role.
Even as a new person, you're comfortable with that?
good way to learn it.
Yeah, if I need to go, I
Throw
go.
them into the deep end.
That's what we usually do.
If I need to go, I'll go, but we've already been talking during the interview process that we're gonna work together to give the rec commission a new charge and so, yeah, I'll go as needed, but they'll be the direct staff representative.
Are we discontinuing the Maxcoma Lakeside Park Committee?
They're out here till September.
End of September.
I'll continue to attend those meetings as I can.
Okay. Old Home Days Committee?
They've never really run with someone unless sometimes someone from recreation goes when they're overlapping.
Yeah, I guess I don't think it would be a bad idea to
I
put
can,
the rec director or see if they could attend them.
yeah, do rec director, but if you need some backup, I can, then even if it's informal.
Okay. So Alice will take Enfield Village Association. Tiff, you're sticking with that, right? Yep. And that's it, I believe. Fairly painless.
And I did put something in your packet for the impact. I think their charge
Yeah,
is done, but
Yeah.
Get around to that.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes of March 3rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second and excellent as always.
Yeah, really wonderful. Been a long time since anyone's made a correction on the minutes.
Especially a substantial one.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Do we need to vote with names?
No,
Not that you've,
it's only if somebody's online.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, do I have a motion? I do,
I
right?
made a
Yes.
motion.
As presented, say aye.
Hi,
Aye. Thank you. Board reports. I have nothing to report. Eric?
Planning board had a nice session with around the HOP2 grant and did some planning. Well, started sort of discussing what the public input session on April 26th will entail. And started discussing conceptuals. Right, it's all around sort of Enfield Village with the HOP grant too, around housing specifically and on how you might draw those lines. And it was a really good introductory discussion around all that. So, and put April 26th on the calendars for a public input session.
Thank you. Tracy?
Nothing new from energy, but to note that we have, through the town meeting, adopted what is now called the Enfield rate. And that will take effect about a month from your current, this billing, the billing which you get in March. So for some folks, it won't take effect until late April. And if they have any questions, I would ask them to defer to Joanne or to Kim for any detail they may need, rather than, I don't think you should have to handle that as an
No,
office
if people
detail.
contact me, if I have the answer, I'll answer
Yeah,
it.
if it's
not,
straightforward.
pass it on to them.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
One note that we did mentally make as people were asking questions, and it may be more related to town meeting, but I'll mention it now because it's energy related, was the thought that when the rates change, we may want to think about a postcard. It seemed to be something that several people at town meeting made a thought about, and talking to Kim and Joanne afterwards, that idea popped into our heads. So just something to think about. Because it becomes a board responsibility to accept the new rate. It kind of comes a board responsibility to consider perhaps a postcard. Just a thought.
I like Charlie's point that you can sometimes get the utility to print a note.
Yeah.
Which is an excellent question to
It'll
ask.
save us a lot of money.
And when we get turned away and scoffed at, then
Well,
the postcard's the next idea.
but if we had something going out, we could get it. I know how much money it costs to do a mailer and it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah, and it's an unbudgeted expense.
Agreed, completely. No question about it.
Unless-
And Charlie's suggestion is a great one if we can make it happen.
Conservation Commission met last Thursday, no, 2 Thursdays ago now, gosh. And the primary discussion was centered around their appearance at town meetings. So if you happen to stop and see them on the way in, they had a table with some items. They also discussed school outreach with the Canaan Conservation Commission and doing some work on that and doing some more partnerships. Class 6 roads came back up, as did the Shaker Boulevard Bridge, and we deferred any desire to modify the Shaker Boulevard Bridge back over to the state and DPW, because that's not what conservation is for. And then there was a discussion on rat poison outreach and getting some of that information distributed. And the next meeting is April 3rd, which is a Thursday.
Thank you. By the way, does anyone have a pen I can borrow? My favorite pen gave up the ghost. Thank
I know you like that one.
Yeah.
I'm taking yours.
We'll probably never see it again.
I'm gonna wrestle it off it later.
Okay. Next up, we have the town manager's report.
Yes, thank you. Staff report, we still have 2 open positions in DPW. We've done a little moving around, so we have a job ad out for light equipment operators. So if anybody knows any light equipment operators that would like to work for the town, we'd be happy to get their application.
What exactly does light equipment entail?
It's our smaller trucks. They do need to have a CDL.
They do need a CDL still.
Snow plows.
Yeah.
We do work with people to help them get their CDL, so if that's something someone would want to do as well, we'd be happy to look at an application and talk to them. As I told you at the last meeting, we received over 80 applications for the rec director position. I passed on approximately the top 20 to the Recreation Commission, who ranked their top 5. I took the points from those, working with, Jamie Ivy and Amy Stewart from the Rec Commission. We interviewed the top 3 candidates. From that, we did choose one candidate that we all 3 liked, and we have been talking with them, and I hope to possibly make a job offer by the end of this week. So we're
That's
moving through the process.
great.
They'll be meeting with the Rec Commission tomorrow, and then we'll
Great.
get some sort of
Terrific.
decisions.
Do we have a rough idea on timeline? I've been asked a few times, just that people are trying,
It'll be,
I mean.
it'll
like,
be based on when this
the
person can make it over and have a little bit of training time, those types of issues. So,
Possibly,
we're looking at probably the May timeframe, beginning of May, probably.
possibly a local, relatively local.
I'll let you know soon.
Okay,
That's an HR issue.
it is, which is why your answer's so coded.
As I told you at the last meeting, we have an opening for a police officer. We currently right now have 3 candidates. One of them has a previous New Hampshire certification. One has an out-of-state police officer certification, and one is a non-certified applicant. The PD will continue working through the process with all 3 of these participants as we look to fill that vacancy. Quick town meeting before we even get in that discussion. I'd just like to thank all the volunteers and town staff that helped make such a successful town meeting. Both the polling day and meeting day was very well organized, and we had very few issues this year. So I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in that. Whitney Hall Public Safety Building update. We're continuing to work with Bread Loaf to finish the stairwells, elevator, and other small items at Whitney Hall. The elevator is getting pretty close to being completed. We found one little issue in there, and we had to get a software update to update the elevator. We're hoping that's in really soon to get that done.
At Whitney Hall, do we have an AED for all 3 floors, one on each floor?
We have one right now on stock. We have one for the downstairs in the library. We'll probably end up having to purchase one for the upstairs.
Are we
Using.
going to do that? I think we
I'm sure
should.
We will, yeah. We've been talking about it already.
Good.
some of the back ordered carpeting has arrived and was installed last week, and the pendant lights for the upstairs are in, and Defiant should be on site tomorrow to start installing them and finishing up a little bit of their punch list. I have heard that we're really close to the stairs being done too. I think within a week or so, those should be being worked on. So a lot of the stuff starting to come together. Hopefully it's done here soon.
Was the leak on the addition taken care of, the roof leak on the addition?
I believe as far as it's going to be now, the rippers will be back in the spring once things dry out a little to fix it right. Now's not the time of year to be.
Well, that's a PVC roof, so actually it's not that bad at this time of year, to be honest, no. But they haven't done the final.
I haven't been up there in a week and I
Leak
haven't
check.
heard anything, but they did get it so it wasn't leaking anymore.
That's nice.
So
Brand new section.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
public safety building still moving along well, ahead of schedule. We're still tentative substantial completion date of early May. Most of the building interior has received the first coat of paint, and we're starting drop ceilings and other finished work probably this week.
Once completed, how many weeks do you think it will take to occupy the building? And I know it's not overnight by any means.
It'll actually be pretty quick, but I think we're gonna do it in stages by department. I don't think it's
Sure.
gonna be go. I think we're gonna move the police department in,
Yes.
settle a little, then move the others in.
So what would you say, 6 weeks, for example?
Yeah, I'd say by the end of June, as long as we can start moving in middle to end of May, should be in. I don't think it'll take very long, really. Especially for the primary stuff. I mean, they can trickle some stuff over for a little while, but I think the PD is gonna be a day, like, boom, you're in. It has to be, it has to.
It has to be, yeah, because of all the evidence locked, yeah.
And I'm sure they'll trickle over some paperwork and stuff slowly, but computers, all that stuff. We are doing it a little bit different than Whitney Hall. Whitney Hall, we, shut down our servers and firewalls and everything and moved and stood them back up and then moved in. Police,
They
we're
can't.
buying all new stuff. It's getting programmed. We'll leave the other stuff at the police building. And then if we decide to use that building again, it'll already be in place, ready to go. On the EMS front, the county commissioners have contracted with Municipal Resources Incorporated to assist towns in the county understanding the EMS landscape with that. So they're just gonna be looking at what everybody has, what's out there, what might be available to do. And then on our side, we've been working with the Emergency Services Advisory Committee, who's finalizing their work, and they should be coming to the select board soon to make their final presentation and recommendations. We'll be getting that before this other one's done, but it'll be nice to get their work as well.
Is the county using rents of their own funds?
Maybe.
I was just curious what prompted it.
I think there's been a lot of discussion statewide on EMS and lack of volunteers and those types of things, and looking at ways to make a better EMS system. I'm sure that went up, and I wouldn't doubt that maybe they used some ARPA funds for that. Would have had to been obligated last year, so. I'd been asked to give an update on Shed Street. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern, but things are moving, right now. We're waiting for final recommendation for continuing monitoring and possible cleanup from DES. We have received late last week kind of a red line mock-up version of what our contractors had submitted to them. So we're waiting for that final report to come out, hopefully within the next couple days. I have been in communications with Oaks and Sons, their attorney and bank, to keep things moving along, but they're really at a spot where everything's paused until we can give them a clean site. There won't be any movement on their part. They can't get any financial funding until the site's complete.
So they can't get financial funding until we've finished the final testing.
Yeah, until we get something a little more substantial than what we have now. So the ball's in our court, and then on our court, falls in DES court.
On our end, what are we looking at on our end? A month, 6 weeks? What do you think? Not the DES part, because that can't be predicted, obviously.
No, but that's what we're waiting. Until the DES part's done, there's nothing for us to do.
Okay. So you don't think we need to do further testing necessarily?
No, not until DES says this is what you need to do. Everything, we do a testing, we do a cleanup, it gets submitted to DES, they study it, then they come back and say you either have to do more or that part's cleaned. It's looking like, but I don't really want to predict that it may be a couple more wells and some continued monitoring probably for years. But if we get to that point, and there's no more cleanup to do, then I think we can probably move forward. But, yeah, it's just playing the Brownsfield DES game, which takes a long time. I've also, on that side, I've reached out to DOT again. This won't slow us down very much, but the railroad ties along the backside of the property have been written into the environmental reports that they need to be removed and maybe a little bit of the topsoil. So before we come in as a town and pay to clean that up, I've been pushing the state to clean it up. I'll continue pushing, but we may get to a point where we need to decide if it's worth pushing more, or if it's worth getting it cleaned up and getting it turned over.
Cause they toss them over onto our property, is that?
In there, yeah, within their right of way on our property. So
Yeah.
what I'm kind of hoping to do is work with them, that they would pay for disposal and I'd have our DPW guys just go grab them and take them to Lebanon, but I won't tell them that yet. So want to work with them to try to get them cleaned up, and I did finally get someone to answer me today that they'd work on getting us an answer. The Lebanon sewer rate discussions moving forward. I've been working with Sean Mulholland to try to finish the sewer rate work and to hopefully lower our rates before he leaves Lebanon at the end of May. They have scheduled for the city council meeting this Wednesday to discuss them. I've been working with Eric Russell, who went to the last meeting, and Jim Taylor with me to go back, talk to the council again, and hopefully they decide to set a public hearing to set rates that would be good for next year. They won't be going into effect immediately, but they'd set next year's rates now.
And if, last year I went to one of their meetings, sort of as the select board representative, unless there's objections, I'll do that again.
That makes sense for you to continue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On the .gov project, we've received the confirmation that we received the Enfield NH.gov for our future transition to the .gov platform. So we have been planning with them all along to make this transition late May, early June timeframe. Wanted to get past town meeting and a few other things out of the way before we start that transition.
Can we keep, at least temporarily for a set period of time, the .nh.us and just make it an automatic reroute like so many companies do? Okay,
Yeah.
then it saves anything that's old that someone picks up from just dead
I
ending.
mean, we'll own it for as long
Yeah.
as it's paid up for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
well, and
if
we
it's
may
not,
even
we may have to
buy it
pay.
for another year and
Yeah,
just keep it pointing in the right
Yeah, I think
direction.
that makes a lot of sense.
Cause it's frustrating when someone finds something old and then doesn't point the
Yeah.
right place.
No, we will definitely be doing that. We do that with a lot of our past emails and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Fire department, the Enfield Fire Department hosted a training for Upper Valley Fire Departments late last month, beginning of this month. We had 14 participants from 6 different departments being represented. The training was taught by United Fire Training and used props to simulate unknown floor plans for firefighters to use to conduct search and rescue operations. So it was great to be able to host that training and bring people in from around the area. On land use, Rob Taylor and I have been working with Dan Thomas from Optimistic Brewing to complete the long-term lease operated by the select board. After that, Optimistic will need to complete the land survey work before final terms and conditions will be set, which could take 6 months or more to get a surveyor in here. So that'll be coming back to you guys, but it may be a little while. Planning board, as we know, planning board approved the HOP contract with the Upper Valley Lake Centipede. Planning Commission. They're planning a community input session for Saturday, April 26th at the community building, or if possible, in the Whitney Hall upstairs. It's looking more and more possible that that could be held at Whitney Hall, so. Continue moving that forward. On the community development front, we're continuing to work on the Enfield Community Resilience Building event approved by the select board. This event is now scheduled for Thursday, May 29th at the community building. And we're putting together a list of invited attendees for that. DPW's had a busy year, but a busy month. They helped thaw Enfield Center Fire Station septic system after the cold week we had at the end of February. When you don't use it much, it tend to freeze up. So, they've released the paving RFP for 2025. They're planning on paving Methodist Hill from Birch Lane to the town line and Lock Haven Road from Ivy Road to Chope Road. Work is expected to begin on their sewer project soon. Manhole structures and frames will be done kind of mid-April timeframe. They'll redo a CCTV of pipeline sections at the end of April. The pipelining will begin in mid-May, and then near the end, early spring, they plan on releasing bids for the Shaker Brink pump station, which will be the finalization of that sewer work. DPW spent a lot of time last week thawing culverts, getting ready for the melting that we're having this week to make sure everything flowed good. Going into this, the roads were in pretty good shape before the rain, and we have just a couple soft spots, but we're continuing to look good around town.
We lost a small section on Bog Road today.
Did we?
Yeah, I think they responded to it immediately because I got photos and then I got a note that they were already down there,
Yeah.
so they were right on it.
And they've been pretty proactive about
Yeah.
that this year.
Yeah, they've been working.
Well,
pretty
Bog
hard.
Road's hard because you're already in swamp.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say they seem like they're moving pretty fast.
Then I just wanted to take a minute to thank Brad Donnelly. He's our seasonal worker, and he'll be returning to Pike in mid-April, but it was nice to have his services through the winter timeframe.
That's a good arrangement.
That's great.
And that's my report.
Any questions from the public? Yes,
When did you say the planning meeting was? April 26th though?
April. Yes.
26th. Yep.
Okay. So, all right. And then, my other question is, Shaker Hill Road, right at the curve where the intersection of, I'm gonna say the wrong one.
The Crystal.
Nope,
Livingston Lodge.
Livingston Lodge. Thank you. I want to call it Lock Haven. So, because the state dug new ditches last year, so now that we're seeing the first thaw, there's a big wash of leaves and stuff that curve is really tough, so I don't know if DPW can help out,
They can both stay.
or we can call state, yeah. Since they did a lot of the work. That
That's a tough spot.
it's a very tough spot, and we told them they were when they were in our yards.
Other questions? We'll move on to town meeting follow-up discussion, including a discussion of SB two. Thank you.
Also, Teams is not working and allowing people in.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's what me in.
Yeah.
I use it to do anything.
Just,
no way for me to know that.
yeah,
Lindsay, can I say something first? I've gotten a number of comments about what a fine job you did as moderator.
thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
very balanced, very personable but firm.
I'm gonna need a fan up there. It's
It
very
was actually quite
hot.
warm. We should have opened the door.
There's no airflow,
Yeah.
but I thought I was gonna pass out a couple of times, so, but thank you. No, I thought it went very smoothly as far as, all of that and just
I can't get into.
Yeah.
coming and going, so appreciate that.
Yeah, because if you go out, you lose your video.
Yes,
Yeah.
no worries. I just wanted to
I
let you
can't
know.
fix it.
Okay. No worries. But, I did, the other comment I had is I did stop by the school this morning, because I happened to have forgotten something. And there was a comment from the school that there was a lot of stuff left in the gym. So, and then, I happened to see in the hallway some 1903 pipe. So, so I was like, I'll take those. So I brought that back here this morning, but they were like, there was a lot, they just, cause I was like, hey, anybody see a jacket? They were like, amongst all the other things left, and I was like, sorry. So I don't know what, cause
I helped load up some of the stuff. We were there.
I think it was just kind of maybe, it was
I picked up a ton of the trash.
random trash
And
or
I could
whatever.
see your jacket, but I didn't take it because I thought it was someone who
Yeah.
helped gloves.
No, so that's like, I don't know what, there was no, actual,
Yeah, because I can tell you the floor looked actually way better than I thought it was gonna be, and I picked up the trash
yeah,
on the bleachers in the middle and helped the guy push the bleachers back in.
yeah. So I don't know. And again, I don't know if anybody was in there on Sunday, but that was just a comment that I received this morning, and there definitely was 1903 pipe there, but so I was immediately like,
Whose pipe is this?
yeah, they were like, we don't know what that is. I was like, I do.
That's no good.
That doesn't need to be here,
Oh,
so I brought it back.
That's funny.
But yeah, so just as I think the other note that I got was just making sure that the front table has name tags, cause the one thing I start to fumble over is everybody's names, so that's why I didn't say your names, because I was like, all of a sudden, even if I know you well, I will. So, but somebody who was new to town came up and asked, said it would be really nice to know who was sitting up there, so just as notes to put in the margins for supplies, not a big
I
deal.
thought it when we
Yeah.
talked about it, when we were sitting up there going, oh, we should have brought them.
Yeah.
If you're big enough to read, you might have to print just.
We have really big ones that we use for the master plan, like, I don't know, so there's some things around, yes, like that, so something like that, so anyways, those were the two kind of logistical things that, pieces of feedback that I got, that were just to make notes of for any meeting.
Yeah, I've heard that the school did a wonderful job with the video recording.
Mhm.
The sound was pretty good,
Mhm.
except on the microphone on the poles that people had to walk up to.
Mm.
Those were a little hard to understand sometimes.
I think it's the nature of the building that was
Right.
chosen. That's a pretty bad acoustics in that gym.
But the visuals were fantastic.
And
I checked it while we were running to see how it was going and it looked awesome.
so, but
And the AV club deserves.
yeah, the AV club's
Yeah.
good, and my suggestion is to leave it at as we talk about SB2. I think there's some reasons to leave it in the gym, but we can get there.
Okay.
So,
Any other comments,
And the just in
questions?
terms of going forward
mhm.
with SB2. So just to tag off of the audio visual, well, the school did the video. They could also do the audio for us if we ask them in advance. I don't know how it would compare price wise, but it might be able to loop everything together. So you might get better audio on the video itself. But the AV club, and they do a lot of presentations for the littles in that school and do the sound.
Mhm.
So just something to consider if we're gonna stay there.
My suggestion for staying there is that, if we listen to a lot of the comments of people that didn't wanna, that were proponents for town meeting, were very sentimental. And the gym, it's a familiar spot, so we're not changing format and location, but also that it allows for that mingling where everybody's on the same level, and so as people are, if, again, SB2 could look very different because depending if there are secret ballots, I mean, most things go to a hand vote, I believe, there's a lot to learn, there's some things to learn there. But that's the time, like an auditorium is not set up for interaction. I mean, that's not how they're designed. And so, just as far as like getting people in and out of seats and they all have to get up. And so that would be my reason to stay at this point. I know there's some advantages sound wise and not having to hire out and that kind of stuff and for the auditorium, but auditoriums aren't really meant for that social interaction
Right.
piece. And that was a big piece that came out of of, what folks, I mean, some of the people that definitely were proponents for town meeting, but just there. And so, and they could walk up to the front table and have conversations. And even though we try to get them back to their seats, there's still
Yeah.
that important part. Food, is an important piece of it, all things that we couldn't do. And that's to me where it might be worth just sticking with the gym. But that's not a decision that has to be made today, but. As I was talking.
And I also think the reason that we were looking at the high school
Yeah.
was the crowd growing and growing, and I think we're gonna be headed the other way. with
Yeah.
SB2.
I'm assuming that the voting would occur in the community center as all of our voting does, right?
Yeah.
Voting.
No, yeah, so now we'll move to a deliberative session. The timing of stuff is gonna change. I'm assuming that that's something that you may not be ready for today, but the timing for all of the, for SB2 is gonna change. And so the committees need to know that, because the budget committee, their
Start
public hearing comes earlier, so they need to start their work earlier, like everybody's gonna have to shift.
Yep.
So there's that, but the deliberative session, which is gonna be at the beginning of February, if we keep a March voting day, we could move voting day, but I think March,
You'd have to have a new vote for that.
yeah.
And at this point, it would be between January 31st and February 7th. That's the timeframe.
Yeah. That's what we're.
The deliberative.
For a deliberative session, yeah.
How many deliberative, just one?
Just one.
Just one.
But you still have to have public hearings on certain things. So a
Same
lot of the process is the same. It's just that the deliberative session, the conversation happens before the final vote. And then any voting that takes place is to accept the articles to be put on the warrant, basically. I'm using probably the wrong terms, but just to kind of, for layman terms. And that, I don't know how many of them have to be paper ballot. If there's bond articles or something,
That's nothing to worry about.
Right, but my reason is like, that's
It's gonna
the
be
only time
very
people would
simple.
get up.
It's gonna be very.
That would be the only time people get up. The rest of it be hand, but that happens anyways, that whole session happens between the there's,
January 31st and
Yeah.
February 7th in 2026.
in 2026 for then the final, and then, yes, the ballot voting will still take place at the community building. You guys have a lot more pieces of paper to shuffle through.
Yeah, that's what we put the SB2 discussion
Yeah.
on here for, is really to talk about when we want to hold that deliberative session.
Mhm.
As Elisa was saying, we pretty much have a 1 week timeframe if we want to continue on a Saturday, which I would feel is probably the right thing to do. Moving forward, it would be January 31st or February 7th, which is the last day that we can hold it.
I would go for the last day we can hold it.
Well.
Well, the school has to hold it at the same time, though. So we want to be sure that we're not on the same day.
They don't.
No,
No,
The question is whether you want them to be on the same day or not. Or they
don't have to be.
Not
We
on
don't
the
want
same
them,
day.
but we don't, but you're right, we don't want to overlap the same morning.
Exactly.
We don't want to be at 9 AM on the same day.
Right. Even also in the afternoon.
So,
So if you choose first, you get to pick.
Do you think that they're gonna check with the town? Cause I don't.
They usually inform us when they're gonna have.
Yeah.
That was
that's-
my
we could
concern
do the
about the
same.
7th.
I have a feeling that they will
If it
inform us
knows,
but not care. 'Cause
You're having.
they had the same, cause Canaan had theirs at the exact same time that the school had theirs this year. So I have a feeling that the school's gonna pick whatever date they want regardless of what any town does. So,
typically the February day.
Right. And so our recreation department reserves all of those Saturdays. I'm just saying it out loud right now. They reserve all of them to play basketball. So we would need to make sure in our heads that we're also communicating with
Okay.
our rec department, because we're the ones reserved typically, unless the school says no for some reason, which is their
We
prerogative.
need to reserve the school through their reservation system, so, and we'd wanna do that
Part of the reason.
sooner rather than later. We don't wanna wait till the last.
I mean, I'm a fan of doing, here's the thing, like, we have to do a date and a snow date. I guess I'd rather get it done earlier, but that pushes back your timeline, so
Not much.
not,
Not
not,
much.
not that you are worried about it.
Public budget hearing and everything has to happen before then, so we're pretty much ready before that date comes around anyways. The public hearing for the budget committee would need to be done before the 27th of January. So the 31st of January is the end of that same week.
Is it just beforehand or was there, I was trying to read through really quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of counting backwards.
Yes.
Yeah,
Done this a lot.
The dates were posted in the narrative for
Yeah.
the.
While you're looking, I echo the compliments for Lindsay. It was a well-run meeting.
Thank you.
And as I told you before at the meeting.
thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, so you just, have to figure out for the budget hearing must be held on or before the third Tuesday in January.
Yeah, 27th.
So, which is that,
And
okay,
if you're going to have a January thirty-first
Appreciate
meeting,
it.
I would recommend they have theirs sooner, but we don't have to schedule, that can be scheduled easily enough by us. We would adjust that schedule according to when the select board want to have
What's your
the
turn?
deliberative session.
What's your turn time on the annual report? Like, are we going to,
So that has to be out a week before town meeting election. I don't think it has to be out before the deliberative session,
No,
but
they would have to
They
come after because the warrant
right,
comes out.
right. So no, but it would
We
be,
have booklets
normally it's a
now.
week before election day.
school, for the school district, you have
So
the
it's
booklet
March.
going into the deliberative session.
no, I thought they did the booklets. I thought we got something in the mail from the school after the deliberative session before.
You get another mailer, but the one you can go pick up off the
Here
counter.
goes.
I think we'd release the tentative warrant that they would be discussing.
And then you'd want to print the book as,
Print the book with the
that
warrant.
will give you an adequate lead time. That's another consideration. Okay.
Here we do it. the more
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Without-
Yeah, we have like a month and a half from February first, you know, because it's all, the ballot voting day stays the same, second Tuesday of March.
So we could
So-
potentially print the warrant with the narrative. Cause that still helps people.
Yeah.
But not the rest of the book, and then go back and print the warrant as agreed upon by the deliberative session into the booklet. Okay.
So maybe it's time to reduce the size of the annual report.
We
Get
already
rid of
did.
all the extraneous stuff.
You guys can work on that this year if you want. We cut out what we thought should be cut out, but I mean, there's other stuff that's not necessary, but trying to find the balance of.
We have the printed version and the online version where, so I like to read the committee, but I mean, I read it with like my snack, right? Like, I'm not a normal human. That's not normal to sit down and read the whole book. I could read it online. And I think it probably costs us, like, I mean, it's the white, I'm picking on yours, it's right here, this white section, which I think people do lovely things for us, but that's gotta not be inexpensive.
Well, I think though that if there's somebody who wants to have a hard copy and doesn't like to read it online, it should be complete.
We reduce the total number of copies we print.
It was pretty small
One
as
to
it was. It was only 250 copies,
It's
right?
it's not a huge amount of money for this, for 250,
Okay.
and we have leftovers. Because there's only, there's not that many people who need the hard copy and they read it online.
We did look at reducing what, like 80 to 100 pages or something, and it was a few $100, but
It's
Oh,
not a lot.
small money, really.
And for the amount of time it would take you to print something if someone asked you, yeah, that's not worth it.
So,
So as far as location, everybody sort of sounds like they're going for EBS again to keep consistency. And then dates is really, if we're gonna stay with the Saturday, it's either the 31st or the 7th.
But if we need a snow date, I guess.
We need a
it's
snow day. It
7th.
ought to be the 31st, so that. we-
And the 31st and the first Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know that you select a snow date in advance.
No.
Oh, that's right,
We
does.
probably don't.
we could do a Sunday, you know, I mean, people
Mhm.
think of a Saturday, but there's nothing that says, except for,
I think for the
Folks
first,
that
week, stay
go
as
to-
consistent. as
Yeah.
possible.
yeah.
Cause like.
Cause
I mean,
like
sure,
nothing, yeah, my point is that it
First
doesn't
Tuesday
have
night.
to.
But, you know,
Yeah,
that'd be my choice, but that's not the
Sure.
right choice
Sure.
for now. It stays as consistent as possible.
no, I agree. I just
Yeah.
was saying it doesn't have to be a Saturday.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's a Saturday meeting, like we didn't have to have a
Yeah.
town meeting on a Saturday.
No, I grew up in a town where it was a Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to do it Tuesday.
No,
Well, and it may be that in the future that happens, but this isn't the year to make
no.
more changes than we already have. So
Um,
is the 31st the day, so we can have a snow day?
Yeah, because I think if you do the 31st and your first is a snow day, it makes it very clear up front to what to everyone what you're doing and you can get your reservations done for both days.
So you want your snow date to be February 7th,
Second,
second?
not second, sorry, first, January 1st, January 31st, and then the Sunday. So you have one on top of
The
another,
Sunday,
like,
okay.
We all agreed with that?
I mean, I don't know how you guys
I-
feel,
no,
but
I
I
think
think
it's fine.
just bang it out. Like, it's not
Yeah, I
like
think
any
that's the
other-
way to do it.
Yeah.
Get it done early so that we can establish a snow date if necessary.
Yeah.
That way
And
when
we
we. set up
avoid by,
it's
we
already
avoid the
set up
school
for Sunday.
for a whole week.
We don't have to do it twice.
Yeah.
It's
That's
much more
actually a good
efficient
point.
for setup.
You set up once regardless of which day it is.
Yeah.
That's why the school does it consecutive.
And then again, it's not super important right yet, but like does, because it happens in 20, whatever next year is. This year plus one. Will the budget for 2026 will pay for? I'm anticipating that this is there's going to be an increase in election supplies needed, depending what the warrant looks like, just as far as number of pieces of paper and postage. If
That'll be, 2026.
Okay. So it's one of those things that has to get communicated, I think, I don't even know how to do those numbers, but communicated to the budget committee that it's probably gonna be a line item increase just on, again, Canaan had a 5-page double-sided ballot. Now, they had 39 warrant articles, and if you all do 39 warrant articles, your moderator might quit, but.
CIP for a reason.
No, but, you know, it can get, and then it's like absentee ballots suddenly jump, which I actually don't anticipate that many will. I think a lot of landowners aren't actually registered to vote here. But anyways, if they do jump, then that's postage. So we just have to anticipate an increase.
There will be an absentee ballot increase.
Yes.
Residents that go out of state
Yeah.
right now can't vote. and
Right,
they
right, yeah.
want to.
That
The
was one of
convers-
the reasons for the change.
Well, one of the conversations I was having was like, it's not landowners, it's registered voters. So there are many people that are not registered voters that own land and they are, they don't get to vote.
I think that was something that was commented to me by a couple of folks that they were concerned that one of the speakers, not from us, they were not clear once she spoke. And I certainly understand that concern, and I think we have to keep articulating, you have to be a registered.
Yeah, registered voters, it's
I
not
mean,
landowners.
It's not that you don't get any representation, we'll certainly all listen to you, but registered voters get to vote.
Yeah. Yes, that was the taxation without representation conversation I got to. But anyway, so I just wanted that we're communicating with the budget committee that there's gonna be, and I don't even know how to calculate it, but just maybe increase there,
You
so
can
we
estimate that.
estimate
Yeah,
it,
there'll
yeah.
be some increased marketing costs and stuff.
Mhm.
So we're assuming that we're gonna have to put out more material so that people know what's going on and what the deliberative session will be dealing.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. It might be a good idea. I mean, a lot of the rules are gonna be the same, a lot of the way it's run is the same, but depending, advertising for it. I think some of the comments that were made are valid, but those are all things we've tried, childcare, blah, 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 like, folks are gonna come and
I
knock
thought the
on.
kids were, and I'm gonna just
Kids were
say
great.
this, my kid was in there and she didn't cause any mass destruction. But
Yeah,
I also noticed from the prior year, from putting them all in a room, they were less wild. No offense to your very good efforts, but it turns out when you consolidate them in a room, they're considerably more.
the energy
exuberant.
starts to end.
It kind of bounces off each other.
Yeah, but she can carry 4 chairs.
But I think it was a nice idea. We've done it many different ways for childcare. And it seems like all the parents who availed themselves of childcare all managed to
Yeah,
make it work this year.
I think we will end up doing something as a school district does, a flyer like this. Which lists the agenda, warrant articles, et cetera.
mhm.
So I think we will end up doing something like this, especially in this first year where we need to inform people of the dates, the times. The extra communication is going to be necessary.
Oh, I think that'll probably be an annual thing.
I think it may be.
A lot more
Yeah.
marketing efforts between
Yeah.
deliberative session and.
Yeah, but we won't be able to rely on the word of mouth listserv or anything else. We're gonna need a piece of paper delivered to each postal customer within the town.
So,
We could put it in the calendar.
And so we need to send out material
You know,
for the deliberative session.
yeah,
We can-
yes.
Maybe we can beg. you.
but after holiday.
that's-
For our poor.
I mean, that's even more crucial maybe.
Well, that's what I meant. This has to go,
Yeah.
a document like this,
Yeah.
which the school sends out ahead of their deliberative session, will need to be sent out for the town's deliberative
Gotcha.
session as well.
The last day to post the warrant in the budget is January 26th. So it'll have to be done before that anyway.
Mhm.
And who's looking into how those dates cascade? Like, are there impacts for like the planning board for holding their public hearings
Right.
in
That-
advance? And
that's
there's a
what I
number of
was-
ones that have
We can do
cascading
that.
dates. And
Yeah, that was my other point, was
Yeah.
like that now the planning
We
board,
got it.
Well,
Okay.
staff can take
Yeah.
care of that. We're all good on
Yeah,
that.
the sooner that's
You don't have
communicated to the boards themselves, though.
because I don't think
Yeah.
zoning board, it impacts them, because we don't discuss those ones.
No.
The planning board has to have hearings
Yeah.
at a certain time.
Ours is the same date
Okay,
as it is now,
okay.
because it's on the
On the
original
ballot.
ballot.
Okay.
It's not in the deliberative session.
I just wanted to make sure there's no,
No, it's not in the deliberative
change.
session at all.
Yeah, zoning articles won't
still
say
get
where
that.
they are,
yeah,
but
no, I understand.
budget committee absolutely will
But
have
there's
to.
a variety of
there's
committees.
a-
But even ones that are maybe putting in other articles, they may have to do it a little earlier to get them, for us to act on them. a little
Like,
earlier.
I think budget usually doesn't come back together until September, when you guys start to come up again, so they may have to
You do
back that up a little bit.
Yeah, we usually start right at the end of September. The budget actually starts in October. We're
So they're,
1 week difference is all that it really is.
Okay.
And I don't know that they'll need to be moved up
I
that.
don't think that would be a problem.
yeah,
No.
so, but beyond that, it'll run.
Comments from the public? Questions? Yeah,
I can say, I also thought it was a great meeting, Lindsay, fantastic
Yeah,
job.
well, thank you.
The only, I won't say negative, the only thing I'd ask the select board to consider is the budget committee did an awful lot of work. Dimitri is amazing. The presentation needs to change in that the public needs handouts or we need a screen that's about 6 times the size. Because nobody could see those numbers. Nobody knew exactly what he was talking about when he referred to a number. So
Yeah.
we'll have to look at maybe increasing the budget for printouts for the public on the budget as well, or something. I don't know what the answer is.
I've asked him to keep it under 7 minutes and add some razzle dazzle, but we'll see how he, interprets that. It's like, Dimitri.
7 minutes is not gonna do
I
it.
know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, to be able to see the chart
Correct.
in front of you.
Get yourself an
Even if
iPad,
they were
download
4 pages or
it.
I agree, 7 minutes is too short.
I know, I was kidding, I'm
15.
kidding.
15 is probably where it needs to be.
Yeah,
I do think that this year in particular, having to explain the mechanism by which we kind of paid down the tax
I
rate.
know, so. I was
That
just-
was,
Yeah.
that was pretty that had to be lengthy.
And-
And so
And I'd already
I was
seen
just
it
gonna say, I
twice.
hope we don't ever have to relive that component again, not because that's Dimitri's fault, but because we did that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if,
No, absolutely, I was kidding,
No,
I'd
no,
already seen the
it's a lot
presentation
of-
I
twice,
think
so.
Dimitri did an
But
he did
excellent
a fantastic
presentation
job.
presentation, yeah.
of keeping it as straightforward as is possible,
Yeah.
giving it's an
Yeah.
extremely complicated subject for most persons who are not accounting experienced. When you need to present that sort of thing, you only have one choice, and that's bring in a rocket scientist. And we did.
No, absolutely, I'm just kidding, it just,
No, it's.
I think you did a superlative job.
yeah.
All right,
I did want to, if
Sure.
everybody's done talking,
could you give us your name?
my name's Troy Doolittle and live out on Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
And I had talked to Jim Taylor about a situation that was going on at Crystal Lake at the boat ramp.
Mhm.
The boat ramp has quite a hole at the end of the boat ramp and has caused some issues on people trying to get up and out of there. I did call last September and Jim did inform me that Enfield doesn't have anything to do with the boat ramp per se. It's actually the state, the Fish and Game, the land division specifically. So I had actually called them about it and informed them that it was quite an issue. Once you get to the end of the cement on the ramp, it drops down about 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it's mainly in the middle. So a lot of the pontoon boat trailers that have a very wide wheelbase doesn't really affect them as much. But I actually have a pontoon boat that is a pontoon boat trailer that is a short wheelbase because it's a jack type. I was stuck there for 1.5 hours trying to get that trailer up and out there. So when I called Fish and Game, they had informed me that, there was a very long wait and they would probably wouldn't be able to do anything about it until next spring, meaning now, or upcoming. I recently called them and trying to see what the status was on that. I had left a couple of messages. Anyway, they basically said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I came in and talked to Jim and Rob Taylor both, and they're going to try to facilitate getting a hold of the state and getting, because I'm not part of the town, so they really didn't care.
Right.
But basically Rob had told me that I really needed to come to the select board meeting to kind of let you guys know what was going on and maybe put a little bit of pressure on the state from your end, being politicians and being part of the select board, as opposed to.
I think Ed made a note of this issue, and we've heard about it before, and we will, as a town, do our best. And that's all we can say.
Oh, yeah.
The select board doesn't really have a lot of leverage in this, but Ed's very good at getting things done. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Can
And
we,
I thank you for coming to say that.
can we impress upon them, water quality wise, that we've
Yeah.
been struggling? Because if we're spinning up still to yanking boats out, I think it's, we've had enough water
Yeah.
quality issues.
Yeah, when I went down to take a look at it, the other day, there's actually a rock berm that's higher than the end of the cement now. It's about 6 or 8 feet beyond the end of the cement from all of the rocks being blown up into the berm.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thanks for.
so, thank you.
Maybe have
Next up, we have a discussion of board and committee application process.
All right, I'll take care of it. Okay. So I gave you a list of all the different positions that have a term that's expiring in 2025, and May 1st, as well as all the vacant ones. So I guess I would propose that we do what we did last year. Advertise that these positions are available for applicants, notify those individuals whose term is expiring, and then let the people who are serving now file or put in an application for reappointment, and new applicants can put in their applications. I would give them probably until, say, noon on the Thursday before your meeting, so I can gather it all together and have it in your packet. And then you can vote to fill the positions at your second meeting in April. So if I get the notice out tomorrow, that should give people plenty of time, almost a month. Day or too short.
And I would say that's our recommendation. I know we talked about it some with the planning board opening, but I'd like to leave them open as close to a month as we can. I don't wanna
Yeah.
delay too long because we're a day or two short, but close to 1 month timeframe open.
I think that sounds great for this. I think this one's obviously planned. My concern is I'd like to see we often have unplanned vacancies. I'd like to see those open, and I'd suggest that a week is actually adequate for an unplanned vacancy. But just open and available to the public for at least a week period before a decision is made. I think your plan that you suggested for these planned ones is great. A month is plenty of time for planning. But it's the unplanned ones that were sort of my concern. So I don't know how people feel about that, but I think, and I don't think it has to be after we've accepted a resignation. It can be before because the resignation acceptance is largely a formality. So it could be the week prior to that. So then you could do both on the same day. Because we don't want to hold things up. And I don't want the result that I created last time. It's what we don't.
Well, I think.
But I do think it's important to have, all of our openings posted and available to the public for a reasonable period of time, which does not have to be a long time, but long enough for somebody, I've been interested in that. I'd like to put in an application, which is very simple and does not take long.
This
Is a week long enough?
I don't think it is.
might
no.
need to.
I think you need time for someone that says, oh, I've been interested in that. I want to contact the chair. I want to talk to somebody. I'd leave it open at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with anything. I just think that was my concern. I would like to have some sort of standard minimum open period for anybody who's interested to at least review it and have the opportunity.
Are we all comfortable with 2 weeks?
I am.
2 weeks is better.
2 weeks?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
We're setting a minimum, not,
Right.
So with this process,
Yeah.
I was hoping to say, get it into me by noon on Thursday.
Mhm.
And then you'll look at them as a pool.
Mhm.
After that, they'd come in first come, first served.
Yep.
To fill whatever vacancies remain
Yeah.
of these,
no, I think
not
that
new ones.
if it was the 2 weeks, as long as you tell them that 2 weeks in advance, then
Right.
whatever day,
Yeah.
then that's, everybody's got the same opportunity.
When were you gonna send out the letter for renewals?
Tomorrow, 'cause I'm on vacation after that.
Ah,
Just tossing out there, Conservation Commission's looking for someone. And Old Home Days Committee really needs some folks.
For a lot of someone's.
Next up, we have the acceptance of the pollinator garden grant in the amount of $2,000.
I move that we accept the $2,000 gift from Eastman Charitable Foundation with thanks.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. And now we're down to administrative items. And
Okay.
public comments.
If you guys would, there is a.
Yeah, could you give us your name? Yeah.
I don't mean to get off topic, but I do have kiddos now. Going back to the planning of Enfield, Rob Taylor suggested I come to this meeting and suggest a proposal for a daycare facility in Enfield, not a in-home daycare, but a good size daycare, put in Enfield. Because there's been a shortage in childcare.
Oh, yeah.
In New Hampshire and all over the place in the United States. I mean, I feel like we really need one, and I've been on the waiting list for childcare for 3 years almost. Our daughter's had autism and her birthday's coming up on the 23rd. So it's been a long time, and I feel like this would benefit Enfield very greatly, so. That's nice.
I think we'd be all in favor of, a new opportunity for childcare in Enfield.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you have any ideas on what we can do.
Yeah, so I do, I've spoken with Rob Taylor before and, like the places where we can put a childcare facility at. I know, I think the owner was looking for, the owner of Enfield Passive Pizza was looking for a business partner to set up apartments and possibly something else. There's all that land's near there. And there's also the police department that's moving out. And then the other buildings in Enfield, Rob Taylor suggested we look for something newer and not like older, because there's been issues with like water and. Yeah. But I know we've had, since COVID, the childcare facilities have closed down and, what was it? Another one is closing down in Plainfield. So everybody is kind of closing down their childcare facilities, so it's very concerning. But I mean, this would be probably on grants, because I obviously can't, fund a giant childcare facility, you know, on my own, but it would be nice to talk to the budget committee as well, to get their, you know, comments on it. But,
Is that something we're gonna go on?
Yeah.
We can look at it. I've been working with Vital Communities, Upper Valley Business Alliance, the City of Lebanon. Some of our businesses around here looking at ways to possibly fund a childcare facility, not necessarily in Enfield. If we can find a space here, it would be wonderful, but yeah, it's a big regional problem and it is something we've been working on, been in multiple meetings looking at that. something that we should continue to work with and work with some of our local employers and people to help see if we can figure out the childcare issue.
And certainly keep working with Rob Taylor. He's a good resource, and just know that I think we support this idea. You know, the question is, what can we do in a practical sense? But keep us posted. Thank you very much.
Good idea.
Yes,
I've got, several, questions, whatever you want. Going back to, last, meeting that you had 2 weeks ago, and in your minutes, this year, tallied votes for, those that were counted, ranged from, 244 down to 186. The largest of those was, of course, the petition warrant article for SB2, which had 244, of which there was a 64% to 36% spread. The closest election had, which happened to be mine, was 479 voters, and a less than a 1% difference between us. That gives some perspective to the SB2 articles this last year. The previous year, the largest number was 236, or 253, and ran down to 220 range. By the time the Pledge of Allegiance came around, which you dealt with at the last meeting, there were only 126 voters, so you were right that the number was less. But the ratio was more than 2 to 1, 85 positive and 41 negative. And then the board decided, or according to the minutes, decided not to have that on the agenda for town meeting. It wasn't an official vote, as I understood, or it was, or documented.
There was an official vote. It was documented. If you'd read the 2023 minutes, you will find that there.
No, last meeting, last meeting of this
We're
board.
talking about our select board.
Oh, our select 2024.
Where we established the rule.
I can quote, semi-quote, something like it was decided by the select board not to have it on the agenda. You can take.
I think that's a fair statement.
I look at that ratio, the relative numbers, and ask you as a select board to reconsider that for next year. I certainly understand and support Lindsay's personal decision not to leave, presumably not to say that pledge, should she want to, or for any other people in that. But I think to respect the votes of this community, I got elected on far less than that ratio. Please consider that for next year.
thank you. Thank you.
We have a municipal facilities advisory committee design team document.
Yeah.
Do we need to do that?
We don't need to talk about
Okay,
that.
I'm
If
sorry.
you guys want any changes to it, we can do that. If you wanna send me stuff, you can. I just wanted to make sure you guys wanted
Signs.
Good letter.
to move forward with the letter, and if so, we can finalize drafting it and getting it to you at your next meeting for signature.
It's pretty straightforward. We could probably do it in about 3 minutes.
I have a couple other questions. You want me to continue?
Okay,
Okay. The current rec director outgoing, at one of the committee meetings, late summer, early fall, mentioned that there were plans under consideration for moving the rec department into the police building, the old police building, soon to be vacated. And in addition to the new rec director that's being recruited, that there would likely be 1 to 2 new positions, for that to be created. That clearly makes a big budget issue as we look toward the next year. The second issue, is there's also been rumors around town, I hope they're not true, that there's, planning in place for an emergency service director, is an additional position, once Chief Holland retires. What's the status of those?
So the first one, there was no, I mean, there was no formal talk or consideration of any extra rec people. And there was talk early on, long-term, that if it grows a lot, there may be the need, but not, there was no actual consideration of adding those. And
That's
then
relieving.
the Emergency Services Committee is talking about a recommendation towards maybe some sort of public safety facilitator, but it wouldn't be an additional position.
Thank you.
And anything, any new positions would come before the budget committee.
Any word on when we're gonna have audited statements for 2023?
We have draft ones out. I don't know when the final one will be here. But hopefully,
Any reason why there's a holdup?
yeah, this was our problem. We had to reconcile all of 2023 at the end of 2024.
Okay,
And we had some bookkeeping issues from the turnover of bookkeeping people, and we had to re-audit everything. We are right now, or re-reconcile, we are right now in the middle of re-reconciling 2024, so we can be in front of the audit, so.
good lord. And
Been a
then
lot
I
of
guess one question, because you may have the entries already, did we write off the trustee of the trust fund losses yet? Seeing as that's pretty much closed out,
We're there in the middle of that.
okay?
We started to write them off last time, and the auditor said we can't. We can't just write them off. That's not something that we can do as a town. Until they say that they can go away, then they can't go away.
Okay,
You know, that's my favorite topic.
well, it's mine too, because that has a direct effect on the undesignated,
Right, and it makes it very hard to tell what you have.
right?
So we tried to do that, and the auditor said, no, you can't.
Can we journal it into a line that's like the uncertainty line so that it's separate?
I think it's pretty much done because we've
Okay.
gotten our final payment. We
Yeah.
should be able to work through this process.
Okay.
So it was a question of doing it prior to this, but now we have the information. And we have what they think is the final payment, so we can in 2025,
I'm not. gonna-
theoretically,
The auditors.
right, yeah. It's just
We
a
can
question of
work with
time,
them. They know we want to get it off the books as soon as possible.
right.
Anything else from the public? Thank you.
Up to you if you want to do that or not.
Yeah, do we
You
want
want to take a look at the
the letter?
municipal facilities advisory letter?
Yeah, so same letter I emailed you.
Yep.
this
Yep.
weekend.
I think the letter's fine. I would like it sent, a little change in the design team logo, because I'd like it sent to all of even the original members of the MFAC. And just so you know, I happen to pull out the minutes. The original minutes are dated April 29th, 2019. So 6 years later, we can close out the process of those two committees, first and second. But I think the letter, I'd like to see it sent to all of even the original members of that committee, frankly. And just say thank you for your long-term work. And a couple of them lingered over to the
Yeah.
second committee.
I feel like didn't we send one to the first round of,
No,
we didn't,
no, because it was
Well, we
on it and I
thank them
didn't get one. No,
I don't know, that was before my time.
okay.
it was before your time, no question.
Normally it would be a good process.
It
for us
was,
to
the
say
first
thank
committee
you.
wasn't,
No.
it just ended. It didn't, get closed, if you will. We transitioned appropriately so. So I'm just saying, the full closeout, I wouldn't want to send something to just the second group and kind of ignore the first group because they worked hard.
If we didn't do it.
Other than that, I think the letter itself is fine. Close it out.
How do we feel about this?
Well, I don't have any. I think Tracy, it's a good idea to send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Kate?
Oh, yeah, no, I think if we didn't appropriately thank people, shame on us, then we should do it, even if it's belated.
All right, then we are in agreement.
Can I just ask a related question, which is, are we doing any kind of like small recognition plaque for the two design, you know how? Like typically when you build a large building, there's some kind of acknowledgement plaque, because it should have both, to me, both sets of design like MFAC 1 and MFAC 2 perhaps.
I wasn't planning on doing one, but
Okay.
if the select board would like to do one, I can.
I mean, I don't think it has to be anything huge. It could also just be something that's nice and framed, so it's not super expensive. I don't know what you guys think. Most buildings end up with something with the,
I think it would be fine. It would have to be something that would go up on the upper floor in the main hall, because we have to remember and respect that there were members of the library group that actually started meeting 3 or 4 years, 5 years before 2019.
no, it might be hard to honor people.
So I don't want to, discriminate in some way from the hardworking library group that put together a proposal.
Oh, they've had so
Good
many
point.
iterations
Yeah,
on their
really.
part. Boy, that raised the really good.
Yeah, I mean, they go back about 5 years
Oh,
before,
no, they,
you know,
oh, like,
and maybe even further, yeah.
way back.
The second one was.
Like when I graduated from
Yeah,
college.
yeah.
I think it was 2008.
I chaired the first one back in,
Yeah.
Henry Cross and I chaired the first one back in, he's been dead for 50, so.
I say we send letters to the impact.
Send letters. No, that's fine. I know we use it, but if it's, that would just be like an entire lawn.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But we,
It's a nice idea, but it's,
We
that's
would
obviously.
inevitably
too-
Yeah, I mean, does it become too overwhelming?
No, I think it's too.
It
maybe
will
too
go,
long.
yeah, it
Yeah,
can, it can.
We may need to think about this a little bit more.
Yeah, typically buildings get that, but we'd have.
The original library committee was 2 years before we did TIF. So that kind of gives you the, because we were gonna put that library on the warrant article, and April said, no, I wanna get TIF in this year. And that's when the market cratered, and we knew that the
2008.
library would not get approved.
What year was that?
Was that the first
2 years
grader?
before TIF, we got into TIF.
Bill was still chair, right?
Yeah.
Could be back, that could be 1988.
I guess it doesn't much matter if it's too complicated to do.
Yeah.
it's something we can't do tonight, but it's
No.
a good idea, and we could
Yeah,
sort of think it through and talk to the library and.
I feel like we did it for
And
Mascoma
actually
Lakeside
get-
Park honoring, and so I'm like, how do we
Right.
do this and honor them in an appropriate way? But then if it's like,
It's
A
a
list
much
of 100.
larger group, so.
Right.
yeah.
Make it more generic and not
Yeah.
list everybody's
That's
name.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
then you
I
don't,
mean, there are generations of people involved here. It
Yeah.
isn't possible without forgetting someone.
But you
no,
could-
probably not.
But
Just
you-
a,
No.
but you-
something which dedicates itself to all the many
Right,
volunteers through literally generations.
Generation.
and, and it may well be possible to get the groups together, the library trustees, the, whatever groups they organize, the two MPACs.
Yeah.
How's our opening date look, our open house date looking?
It's in May.
Well, no, how's it looking vis-a-vis?
It's tentative right now based on finishing stuff. It looks like things are gonna get finished. I do wanna put a small committee, but I'll start contacting people if someone wants to help planning everything. I don't know. I'm gonna do the basics, and if we wanna do more than that,
I said to Shirley that I would help if they.
Yeah. I know Shirley's reached out. If you'd like to help, one or two more would probably be plenty to put something together. I did reach out to Upper Valley Business Alliance to see if they would run kind of the ribbon cutting portion of it, and then we'd
They
do the
have
rest.
others.
Yeah, and all the other supplies and things that go along with that.
All right. Are we ready to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
yes. The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Audience.
Thank you, guys.